Bases dropped on SDHAM, Soccer's morning show. John, hear you there. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. Kind of busy show this morning. It's with Tuesday Thoughts today. We were drifting out into a couple of different things. You know how Tuesday we kind of do deeper dives into subjects and things like that. Opening kickoff is interesting for a couple of different levels, and then that ties into the next topic involving that particular agency. And going into that for the first half hour. 9:30, Jay Entlich, the head coach at Columbus State on the women's side, is going to join us. They continue to advance in the NCAA Division II tournament, so he's going to join us at 9:30 Eastern time. We'll talk Division II, talk about what it's like being number 2 in the country, and talk about what it's like trying to maintain, knowing that everybody's gunning for you and that you've got a bullseye not on just your back, but on your front, and everybody bringing their best every single time out. So Jay Antlich's going to join us at 9:30. Then we'll go into other topics. We've got some stuff going on in, let me see if I can get this right, England. See, Jason does that so much better than I do. We got some stuff overseas to get into after Jay Antlich, 10:30 Eastern time. It is the normal visit from Kaylor Hodges and our friends at the USL show. We have teams making offseason moves already. We're going to talk USL Super League, and get into that and catch you up on everything that you might have missed on the first half of the season and get you ready for the Christmas holiday and everything there. And then drift out of there again, and we'll let you know what's going on today, what to watch, where to watch it, all the gossip, rumor, and innuendo. We'll get into that as we go. So that's the layout for the morning. Morning, Alex. And so that is where we are this morning with all the things that are going on. Like I said, Tuesday's traditionally very, very newsy when it comes to our stuff here at SDH. And so we get you into those topics that are that might have, oh yeah, you see a headline and then, oh yeah, and we'll get into the deeper stuff in and beyond that. So that is the lay of the land this morning. Looking forward to catching up with all of you guys and everything else that is on your mind. If you missed it, on the network yesterday, caught up with Sue Patberg, the head coach of the Emory women's program, as they get ready for the national Final Four on the women's side in Las Vegas coming up later this week. So that interview is up on the network, and it's also you're getting some cameos on our social media. There's some IG posts that have some of the sound with the conversation that we had yesterday with Coach Patberg. So they're getting ready to go to Vegas for the NCAA Division IIIs and the national semifinals there. So you can catch up with that on the network and on Instagram. And also one of the new franchises in the NPSL, American Soccer Club New York. They are online, and it's a front office that has an ownership group that has ties to the Long Island Rough Riders and the New York Arrows from the Major Indoor Soccer League. So we got to have a bit of a discussion with their front office, Kevin Reardon, Jim Kilmeade, about what Long Island means to soccer, what soccer means to Long Island, why ASCNY is up online, why they chose the NPSL, those conversations. And so that is up as well on the network. So set your notifications if you haven't across the board. And when something new pops up, you can sit there and go, oh, something new has popped up. And you go to the app and you can listen to it there. It's also out on all your favorite podcatchers. And so you can find it wherever you find all of our content, wherever your notifications are set. You've downloaded the app. You go to Spreaker, speaker with an R in the middle, Spreaker, then do a search for Soccer Down Here. You hit that for notifications. And also for those of you that want to listen to college football stuff, you can go to the OSG Sports side of things, catch up with the review, our week in review show, and then the College Football X that we do every single midweek, and we get you caught up on subjects and get you ready for the weekend and update you with some topics there as well. So OSG Sports, Spreaker, speaker with an R, so Spreaker.com, or just download the Spreaker app on your phone, and then set your notifications for Soccer Down Here, the SDH Network, and for OSG Sports for college football and everything else over there. All right, so that is the morning. Morning, Derek. Morning, Tom. And opening kickoff, we'll get into it here. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. What you can do there with Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com is kick off your day. That reminds me, I got to turn my board on. from our friends at Glance LED. So that's your QR code to start your day with Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. You go there, you hit that QR code, you go to Kickoff Coffee, you kick off your day, and when you check out after you have bought the store out, don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10%, reinvested in youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and at kickoffcoffeeco.com. Now, this morning, like I said, we'd go into deep dives. I'd mentioned this story when it first happened, and it has to do with the Club World Cup. And a couple different things are Club World Cup-ish this morning. Ben Jacobs came out, and it looks like Manchester City is going to be A1 pot 1. So we'll see what Ben Jacobs had to say about that when we circle back to it. But there was one team that was kind of pissed about the Club World Cup, and it had to do with the multi-club ownership model involving clubs in Liga MX and how it impacted a team that is probably, team 33, maybe, Alajuelense, our friends at Alajuelense in Costa Rica. And so they were mad about how the teams were decided for the Club World Cup. Alajuelense then decided that they were going to challenge the rules of engagement and sit there and go, bruh, things should be different and we should be included. We now have an answer from FIFA, huzzas and hoorays, first time ever, I think, that FIFA doesn't care. FIFA, like Shingles and Kirby Smart with point spreads, they don't care. So they've responded to Alajuelense's complaint where, to recap, and this is from Matt Lawton over at the Sunday Times, breaking its own rules. The Alajuelense has accused FIFA of breaking their own rules by including two Mexican teams who have the same ownership group in this week's draw. It's coming up in 2 days. So on the 5th is when you have the draw for the Club World Cup. Now they have been blocked, meaning Alajuelense, from any involvement in a possible legal action. Alajuelense had sent a formal complaint regarding Pachuca and León, who are both owned by the Pachuca Group. But FIFA responded by stating that while acknowledging receipt of the complaint, it does not follow that Alajuelense, quote, will become a party to proceedings should there be any. So let that sink in for a second. FIFA acknowledged receiving an envelope from Alajuelense. They got a gift at the door. They got a delivery. They were not there waiting for the delivery person to come by, stop at the curb, drop a box off, here, sign for this, and go on your way. FIFA's like, yeah, we got it. You know, we might have been in the house. We might have been looking out the front door. We might have, seen the delivery truck drop something off. They might have rung the doorbell, but we didn't want to answer. So we just let them drop it off. We said, okay, it's okay to deliver it and leave it on the front stoop. So then the driver goes away. FIFA looks outside the window. Infantino, he peeks out the kitchen window. He sees something on the front stoop. And he's like, yeah, okay, is it coast clear? Yeah, I think we can get it now. So then they go down, open the door. There's a box or an envelope there. No return receipt requested, but the dude took the picture that showed up that it was there. And you pick it up, you take it inside, you look at it, he takes it into the kitchen or maybe sits in his living room and, puts his glasses on, opens it up, sits there and thumbs through it, sits there and goes, yeah, okay, closes it up, puts it on the dining room table, walks away. Alajuelense says it does not follow that Alajuelense will become a party to the proceedings should there be any. So basically, after Johnny Infantino looked at the delivery, went through the pages, put it on the dining room table, he let Alajuelense know, it's like, well, if something were to happen, y'all ain't part of it. That's thank you for bringing this to our attention, but not so fast. Johnny Infantino takes his Ticonderoga 2-number pencil and sits there and waves it at our friends from Costa Rica. You will not be a party to the proceedings should there be any. So if we challenge anything involving the Pachuca Group, Thanks for bringing this to our attention. Have a nice day. Lawton continues. Remember, Alawalense argued FIFA is in breach of Article 10.1 of their own competition regulations, which states that to ensure the integrity of the competition, in quotation marks, no club participating may hold or deal in the securities or shares of any other club, closed quote, period. Here we go with that again. Alawalense believe that either Pachuca or León should be removed, Alawalense taking their place among the 32 teams next summer based on continental ranking. So Alawalense is team 33. FIFA's response basically means that clubs not even going to be told if the governing body's general secretariat has decided to investigate Alawalense's claim. Thanks for bringing this to our attention. Have a nice day. Lose our number. Because we ain't calling you. If we decide to talk about it, we ain't calling you to tell you about it. And you ain't allowed inside the office. We might be sitting in a corner office someplace, but security's going to stop you at the front desk. Or there's going to be somebody who's going to have a phone that's going to sit there and go, yes, Mr. Alawalense, if you would please take a seat. We will get to you soon. And then, like 5 o'clock goes past. I thought I had a meeting with Mr. FIFA. Yes, he'll be right with you. Oh, I'm sorry, he's gone for the day. So even if there is any kind of an investigation, and I know this shocks you all, Alawalense is not even going to be told if there is an investigation. And they're not going to be told the process of any investigation if it does in fact happen. And that these 32 teams are probably going to be these 32 teams. Alawalense responded to that from FIFA with another complaint. It's like, well, you thought that our paperwork was ready now. Tell you what, we're really going to be ready for a complaint. So that they said that FIFA's response, meaning Alawalense responded to FIFA's response by saying that FIFA's response is not consistent with previous cases. They cited the Ecuadorian national team. You remember the stuff we were talking about with Byron Castillo fielding an ineligible player, accused by Chile of fielding an eligible player. Chile accused Ecuador of bringing in Byron Castillo and qualifying for the 22 World Cup. Remember how that went. In the end, Ecuador played in Qatar after CAS deemed Castillo an Ecuadorian national. They did get a 3-point deduction at the start of the qualifying campaign for the 26 World Cup and ordered to pay a fine of about 89,000 pounds, 100,000 Swiss francs, for the use of a document containing false information. Okay. Basically, FIFA kicked the can down the road. It's like, nothing to see here, and you're getting a fine. Alawalense's point is that Chile, who had hoped to participate in the World Cup had Ecuador been disqualified, were party to those legal proceedings. The new format of the Club World Cup has already faced criticism, obviously, with player burnout. FIFA then came under further scrutiny. Remember when they chose Messi and friends at the end of the regular season in Major League Soccer? Gianni Infantino apparently surprised a lot of folks by showing up at the erector set with a hot mic and sitting there saying, Inter Miami's in, and they're having the first match at Hard Rock, which surprised a lot of people, probably including a lot of folks in Miami. Not just in Fort Lauderdale from the erector set and Messi and friends, but in Miami. It's like, oh, the folks at Hard Rock are like, oh, really? Okay, I guess we need to prepare a stadium then. And now they're on the hop to get Hard Rock prepared for the opener of the Club World Cup. And so then if Lawton makes the point, if Alawalense gets their way, FIFA is going to be faced with kicking out a club from one of the countries hosting the next World Cup, which is, 26. So in 25's World Cup, Club World Cup, if you make the decision to kick out either Pachuca or León, you're impacting Liga MX, who is in one of the host countries for the 26 World Cup. Alawalense apparently is going to continue their legal battle because they don't care. 3 Mexican teams are right now in the field of 32. Monterrey won the Triple C, the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza, back in 2021. León won it in 23. Pachuca won it this year. And remember, once again, they own several clubs inside Liga MX. Under FIFA rules, 4 teams from CONCACAF were considered eligible for Club World Cup based on the past 4 winners of the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza, Seattle being the 4th. And that superseded the rule limiting participation to 2 clubs a country. In CONCACAF, all teams ranked above Alajuelense in 15th place are either American or Mexican, according to Lawton. It is also for that reason the Costa Rican club believe they should now be included. FIFA has been approached for comment. So our friends at Alajuelense are pissed. Not that that's news, mind you, but they are going to continue their fight in the legal purview, and we'll see what happens. I anticipate not much. That's opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code for those of you who are watching us on the video side of things, and you can catch us either on our YouTube channel, on Twitch, or on the 280-character app live and in person every single morning. Hit that QR code. You dive into our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Then, when you check out, use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest at youth games, youth initiatives, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Along those lines, Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. have that to kick things off. What you can do is you can get the Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta clothing line. You can get it either in the red or black associated with Atlanta United's colors. And you can get it either in sweatshirt or T-shirt. And then what you do when you invest at Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. is you help out, a portion of the proceeds go to help out middle school soccer programs and their advancement attached to Atlanta Public Schools. So Grady Baby Co., once again, a way to give back to the APS system and continue to grow the game there. So that is, once again, Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta. You can pick it up there and figure that out and how to add that to your wardrobe or someone else's wardrobe that is close to you. Now, item number 3, Olive and York. Our friends at Olive and York and Scott Flood and the Flood Project have done tremendous work in trying to come up with our first supporters kit. It is now officially official, and it is the perfect holiday gift for yourself or someone else. And there, as we put in the Twitch pitch, is where you can get it. Olive and York / collections, kits, products, SDH Network Soccer Down Here supporters kit. You go there, you get the supporters kit, and it's going to help out causes that SDH Network have earmarked for 2025 and beyond. Thanks to our friends at Olive and York. Thanks to our friends at Kaiser Permanente. Thanks to the Scott Flood and the Flood Project for helping design this. Very, very cool. You've got some options. You can personalize it on the back if you want, but go to Olive and York, and our relationship with them is now underway, where this is the first, first supporters kit that we've ever come out with. You can go to Olive and York, and you can get it there and help out programs that we have earmarked once again in 2025 to help continue to grow the game here in the southeastern United States and around this or any other planet that you may have an attachment to. So, your homework assignment: Olive and York, Grady Baby Co. Then it's also with Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. You can also go to our website at soccerdownhere.net, and you can get your own gear. You go and click through, go to our store. You can get stuff like this, the old school writing in sweatshirt form. We have all the old T-shirts and things like that, and you can continue to grow your collection from all the SDH gear at all these places. And we're trying to make the game a better place and make everyone's wardrobe stacked with SDH gear in one place or another. And don't forget our friends at the Marshall Islands. You can get Marshall Islands gear as well through them, and you can help support the last program, the last country on this planet to have a national youth soccer team. So Marshall Islands, Grady Baby Co., Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com, Olive and York, and the store that we have on the SDH Network and soccerdownhere.net. So there you go. Morning, everybody. So it's time to check in with everybody before Jay Entlich joins us in a couple of minutes. So morning, Alex. Morning, Derek. Morning, Tom. Michael Head, reportedly Newcastle says Miggy's allowed to leave in January. Yes. Don't know what the price tag is. Remember, apparently, possibly, allegedly, in the last window, that Charlotte had an agreement in place, and it was around $18 million, if I remember correctly. But the team and Almirone's representation could not agree on salary and personal terms and things like that. So that was the larger issue. What will Newcastle agree to for a fee this time? That is the larger question. Eddie Howe has mentioned that his squad risks being stale without new players. He also added that sales of Elliot Anderson and Yakuba Minte in the summer were blows to the club, currently 11th in the Premier League. Martin Hardy at the Times says that Howe has warned that Newcastle is at the risk of staleness if they don't strengthen in the January window. Failed to sign a major first-team player in the previous window in the summer, unsuccessful in a series of bids trying to get Mark Gahey from Crystal Palace. Howe's aware that he was criticized after the loss to West Ham and a draw with Palace left his side mid-table. Spoke about it for the first time, the difficulty of not strengthening the group and trying to comply with the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules all at the same time. Quoting Howe, sometimes the same squad can produce a staleness and a negative product, so I think we are aware of that. But it's about what we are able to do rather than I want. I want is clear. It's what we are able to do that's the key thing. Of course, there was a want from us to strengthen, especially in the summer, where we saw a couple of players we felt could have made a difference in different positions, but it didn't happen. Other side is we lost, although we never had Yakuba Minte. We lost with him and Elliott, two key players for us, so it's not just the lack of incomings, it's losing two talented young guys as well. I think freshness is important in a squad. I won't sit here and deny that. There needs to be a certain element of trading in and out to keep the group dynamic new. A new dynamic and a new team always has to form every season. Then he went on to address personal criticism. He understands it's part of the gig. Scoring has been a key problem for Howe and Newcastle right now. 5 goals in their first 6 league games at St. James Park, second lowest the club have recorded in the Premier League era. Quote, for me, attacking is fundamental, much like reading. It's your aim in the game. I would rather not be in a job than not fulfill that promise to our supporters. We want to entertain ultimately. You're giving players a purpose. We will always attack. I make no apologies for that. We want to play attacking football that the Newcastle supporters can't wait to see. I know we're not delivering that at the moment, and that is a frustration. So, on the board, Miguel Almirón. Where does Miggy go? Saudi Arabia has been interested. MLS has been interested. What will the price tag be? And where will Miggy go? And keep an eye on that, obviously, as we get closer and closer to the January window. January, once again, and actually starting next week with the MLS windows opening up and all the different days and all the different re-entries and half-day trade windows and things like that next week. That's when the fun starts. January window starts overseas, and then you can trade and send individuals around this or any other planet. How much shakeup do we see in the Premier League? And is Miguel Almirón a part of it? And what direction does Miggy go? And keep an eye on that. Tom's actually now just watching the recaps of the conference finals, laughing at how Steve Cangelosi was in Orlando saying, packed house here at Inter & Co. Every seat, 25,000. That's cute. And Tom agrees with Michael about the idea of bringing Miggy back. Then that back and forth conversation continues with them. But Will, good morning, Will. Love the idea of it, but going back to the well isn't always the best way to go. And he's still peeved about Messi and friends. Double standard as always. And yes, you can see me. Abby, good morning, Abby. Here's what I think went down. And it happens when you chase after things with websites that have a lot of pop-up windows and stuff. I made the mistake first time a couple days ago of clicking on the 4-letter paper. And we all know that the 4-letter paper has an ish ton of pop-up windows and things that will just clog up your screen. And so because I have a certain antivirus protection program, it basically sat there and put up the stop sign and was like, no, bro, not going to happen. And that's what locked up Chrome, and that was the first time it crashed. So now we can add AS to that, because AS yesterday, I wanted to try and find out the fines that were involved in the counterintuitive notion from Liga MX that if you stink, you've got to pay up even more. So you have to invest to try to bring players in so you don't stink. And then if you invest trying not to stink and you still stink, you have to pay the league more money to help out the Liga Ascension, and when promotion and relegation was to happen ever again, and it may, if Apollo and the NFL have anything to say about it, investing the $1.5 billion on the television contract that they want to have condensed to the league on the whole, and not doing it as they have done it forever with individual clubs and individual contracts, like Toluca with Tuda NA and Chivas with Telemundo and Santos Laguna with Fox Deportes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So all of that, I go to AS and I click on AS, and it's like, hey, you know what? AS is just as cloggy when it comes to their pop-up windows and everything, and it caused Chrome to sit there and think about it too hard, and you got the spinning wheel and everything like that, and then everything went boom, and you're just like, nope, not happening, and that was what happened when it crashed yesterday. And it was so bad. It legitimately was so bad that when I dialed back in, legitimately, you couldn't see me because it still registered that the camera was functioning, even though it wasn't. So that's how messed up it is. So my public service to you, my public service announcement to you is this. Yes, dialed. I'm 108 years old. It's just the terminology that I use, Abby. You know this. So when I try and go to certain websites, the 4-letter paper, I always mention the information. Take the information at your own peril. Go to the website at your own peril because of all the pop-up windows for the 4-letter paper and the 3-letter paper. Now you can add AS to that, unless you have a massive pop-up blocker and a particular program that will sift through all of the nonsense and figure out what's going on, so you can get the information that you want. So AS and the 4-letter paper cause Chrome to sit there and think about it and crash, and you've got to dial it back up again. Absolutely true. All right. So now let's see who else is here this morning. So, yes, Will, you see me. Fantastic. So morning, Will, morning, Tom. And I know that you guys are talking speculation with coaches and such, and we'll get into that. And I know that you have your priorities here. All right. Time to go to Columbus, where it is like minus 14 degrees. And I'm being somewhat facetious because, I'm in a studio and I'm wearing a sweatshirt. We'll see what Jay Entlich is wearing this morning as he's getting ready for things. Jay, what is up, my friend?
What's happening? How's it going?
You're the one who's still chasing after a national championship. Me, I'm just trying to stay warm in a studio.
Yeah, it is a little chilly down here. My assistant's on the field with 2 of our players, 2 of our forwards, trying to get them going a little bit. And better him than me. At least I'm inside, John.
Right there with you. And I wanted to discuss a bunch of different things with you and not completely monopolize your day as you're deep in a playoff run here in Division 2. But I wanted to ask first and foremost about the idea of everyone chasing after you, being the number 2 team in the country and bringing their best every day, and the pressures that are attached to that. And how do you not let it affect the overall, knowing that you're trying to chase after something? How does CSU handle the pressure of expectations and then everyone crashing down upon you, sitting there going, yeah, I want to knock them off?
Yeah, I've been blessed with so many good people and good mentors in my life. And, Julie Foudy says it best. She says, pressure is a privilege, right? And so I think in the end, we don't run from it. We realize it's a part of life, and we pick the bed we sleep in. We know that we are who we are, and we are going to get everybody's best, especially at this point in the season with only 8 teams left in Division Two. And I said it to my team the other day. There's 1,045 Division One, Division Two, and Division Three women's soccer teams. And right now, I believe there are 16 teams left. So 8 in Division Two, 4 in Division Three, 4 in Division One. And then after Friday, it's going to be down to 4 teams in Division One and Division Two, because they're going to both be in their college cup runs. So that's 1.5% of all female soccer players at the collegiate level still playing at this point. And that's a privilege. That's awesome. So super pleased with where we're at. I thought we had a really good result this weekend against a tough team in North Georgia. And we got a team in University of West Florida that, gosh, between Joe and I'd love to see the comparison between the two of our programs over history. It's, he's done an absolutely phenomenal job, and he's won a national championship. So that's something that I can't say I've done.
When you go up against an opponent like you did this past weekend, even though it was a home game for you there down at the Walden Complex, and you had played North Georgia before already this year, how difficult is it to dial it up against an opponent that is familiar with you and you familiar with them? I mean, I don't think you can bring stuff from the back of the playbook and surprise people this time of year, can you?
No, not really. I think, the one benefit I think that Division Two model has gone to, though, is we did have a full week to prepare. And so that's very different than years past. Just like this week, we have a full week to prep for University of West Florida. And in years past, there was always like a Friday, Sunday, then you go, Friday, Sunday, then you go Friday, Sunday. And so I think with the Division Two model this year, it's allowed us the opportunity to certainly simulate training and put ourselves in different situations and put things on the scoreboard, goal down, goal up, player up. So I think the benefit is you do have a nice week now. We are battling finals. And I think a lot of people don't realize that maybe weren't collegiate athletes or maybe don't truly look through a fine lens, John. Our girls start final exams tomorrow. And so here we are. As a coach, I'm not taking any final exams. I haven't taken a test in 30 years. So I have to be cognizant and understanding of kids who they really, really care about their academics. They really care about their grades. Our overall GPA last year was a 3.74.
Whoa.
And so we've got kids that are trying to get into medical school, trying to get into physical therapy school, vet school. I have to be understanding. And so it's not like, oh, wow, let's train for 2 hours and then they just disregard their academics. So, but again, people don't realize that the next 2 weeks is final exams for all athletes, not just women's soccer. You're looking at volleyball, you're looking at football, heck, even as basketball is getting going, they've got to take finals. So it's a lot to think about.
And as you mentioned, it's student athletes, and at the Division II level, I will say student athlete because I know at other levels that are higher, it kind of flips a lot of the time, especially in sports where it's athlete student. But at your level, it is student athlete. And these are majors that you've announced here just a second ago. This isn't just stuff that you can sit there and go, yeah, okay, I get it. I'm going to go in. And it's not like it was with me when I took world geography as an undergrad, where you sit there. The first test is the United States. The second test is Europe. And the third test is, the third world countries and things. And then you could sit there. Well, if you ace the U.S. one, you can kind of take it easy on the other two. This isn't something that you can sit there and go, yeah, I'm going to ace the first one and then coast my way through it. This is something that you've got to have that's a part of your whole process. It's not just something that's like, okay, I'm going to prioritize school or I'm going to prioritize sports. It's got to be even Steven all the way through for your team.
Yeah, and the one major I left out, I don't know why, because we've got about 8 of them are nursing majors.
Wow.
And so we're one of the few schools in the country, and I'm one of the few coaches that actually allows nursing majors to play soccer. And so I think the key ingredient for our nursing majors is they have to maintain a 3.4 GPA or higher. And so there's a lot of stress with some of our young ladies, and gosh, a lot of them are absolute studs. You got Vanessa Viles. I mean, she's got 12 goals as a holding midfielder. Scored the game winner the other day, and she's like, Coach, I got a couple exams this week, and I'm going to get through them. I go, don't worry, Vanessa, we got you. But and I joke with them a lot, like, I'm glad they want you to get a 3.4 GPA or higher, because I don't want to go to a hospital and have some nurse that failed half her classes. Yeah, you can work on my kid,
It takes a very steady hand. It's like, I didn't do
right.
operation well.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, true story, John. I probably shouldn't say this, but man, we were at camp one day, and one of our kids, his kneecap dislocated.
Whoa.
And I got a nursing major, and she goes, "Don't worry, we worked on this in class."
Wow.
Puts it
Wow.
back in place.
Uh,
I probably shouldn't say that on live television here, but man, I'm not going to tell you who it was, because her license will probably get revoked. But
or she gets
no,
to the front of the class because she's already got on the job training.
I mean, we had 2 women that were pregnant in our department this year, and I said, nursing majors, I hope you're ready. Our athletic trainer gave birth on September 22nd. I said, nursing majors, you guys get ready. I delivered 4 babies, but I hadn't really delivered them. I said, if she goes into labor, you guys are ready. You're ready to go.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Popping a kneecap, man. That's gonna stick with me for a while.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
glad.
it was a cool day at camp for sure.
Oh man, I'm hoping that that particular nursing student has video of it, or at least has secondhand a transcription of the event to hand to a supervisor and to a teacher and an instructor and go, look, I've already done this. I can pass
Right.
this. I can pass
Right.
this section.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
the balance that you've had when it comes to scoring goals this year. I mean, have you had a squad that has had as much balance as this one has when it comes to your offensive output?
It's funny, John. It's crazy you mentioned that, because I literally just went back and checked all the way back to 2015. One, I think this year, I did learn today, this year we've scored the most goals in program history. So we're right at 100 goals.
Mm.
So I wanted to check that stat. I think the last time we 2016, we had 96 goals. But I then went back and looked at where were the goals coming from all the way back to 2015. That was our best season. And honestly, it was probably 2 or 3 kids, and they were up in the 20s, right? One kid had 20, one kid had 18, one kid had 17. And so in years past, it's always been probably about 3 kids that have carried the workload. And so the coolest thing this year is, of the 100 goals, the highest goal scoring duo right now is 12. We have 2 players with 12. And then you're talking 10, 9, 8, I think one girl has 11. So the balance has been awesome.
What's the biggest thing that has surprised you about this team this season?
I think the biggest thing is, last year we graduated 5 starters. And I think anytime in the game of soccer, that's almost close to 50%, right? And so, most teams, if they tell you they're going to graduate 50%, the next year it's going to be a rebuilding year. We got to rebuild. And I never look at it that way. I like to use the word reload. And I don't ever look at a team and go, oh, this is going to be a rebuilding year. That's not the right mindset. I think that's a glass is half full mindset. And so we take our spring really, really serious. I think there's so many coaches out there, John, that kind of look at the spring and go, oh, let's just have fun. Let's roll the ball out. It's really no game. The games don't matter. They don't count. And I don't think they truly coach their kids in the off season. And so I take the spring almost more serious than I do the fall as far as development goes. And we spend countless hours developing kids in the spring and going, okay, we have to get you better at this. We have to put you in live environments. You only get 6 games, and that includes the alumni. But I go, okay, who did well in Division One? I want to play you. I'll call UNC Chapel Hill, call Alabama, Mississippi State, call Duke, call Florida State, Clemson. We want to go play the best of the best teams to put us and expose us. And that way our kids grow. Whereas I think a lot of coaches out there, John, they take their teams in the spring and go, I just want to build confidence. I want to get a couple wins. So we're going to play, some little rinky-dink team and beat them 17-0. Mm-hmm. And in the end, John, you're not making your players better. And so I think for us, I was just talking to my assistant this morning about the growth of our team that we developed them in the spring. And they were able to come out this year and rise to the challenge and be comfortable against some of the best competition. I think we have one of the highest strength of schedules in the country in Division II. So it's not like we're playing easy teams.
When you make those phone calls to those D1 powers, how many of them sit there and take the phone call and go, yeah, come on? How many of them sit there and take the phone call and maybe snicker when they hang up the phone? And how many of them sit there and take the phone call, hang up, and go, I ain't going there?
Yeah, it's definitely a variety. I feel like I have really good relationships with so many folks just because I've been in the game a long time. But no, for sure. I mean, 2 years ago, we went up to University of Georgia and we beat Georgia 1-0. Now, a year later, I call and coach says, no, we're not playing you, right? Like, no chance. Whereas I can tell you way back in the day, this was a while ago, and trust me, Karen Hoppe, she is an awesome coach. God bless her. She did so much for the game. She just retired. We went and we beat Auburn. We caught them on a day. I remember it was April 9th because it was my wife's birthday, and I was so excited. And we beat Auburn 1-0. And basically the next spring comes along and my phone rings the day our season ends, and it's Karen Hoppe. Hey, Jay, we'd love to host you. Wow. I go, oh, this is awesome. Let's go. So we go over to Auburn, and they absolutely beat us. I mean, I don't think we even touched the ball, like they were so mad. But, again, kudos to Karen because she wanted to play us. And I think Division I teams recognize that we try and play proper soccer. We're thoughtful in how we play the game, and we're respectful, and we're not a team that's going to go and kick you. And so I think they want to play against us. Now, the toughest part is getting those big dogs to come to Columbus, Georgia. Mm-hmm. So none of those teams, they all, we don't have a budget. Are you kidding me? So I end up going on the road all spring and playing, away at Alabama, away at Florida, away at Georgia, away at Clemson. So it's tricky, expensive spring.
How much of a challenge is that for a Division II program to go on the road, to try and find the funding, to better your program, but at the same time be challenged in today's financial atmosphere about you want to get better, you're going to have to go on the road. I imagine the university understands that. The athletic department understands that. But how much of a challenge is that in today's day and age to challenge yourself, but be aware of how things might impact you financially?
Yeah, we actually had a budget meeting yesterday with the president, and she wanted to basically try and understand the athletic market and how we travel and what are some potential costs and this, that, and the other. And her comment was, well, it should be the same every year. And I go, unfortunately, it's not, because this year, John, we had 12 home games. And now with all the postseason home games, we're going on, I think, home game number 19. And so that's almost unheard of. I mean, 19 home games is crazy. And so we haven't had to spend a lot of money. So we are saving some money by playing at home so much, and then hoping that the money we save we can use for the spring. But you're correct. I think the easiest thing is, hey, just stay at home, take it easy in the spring, invite some teams in and play. But again, that doesn't make us better. And so we want to go be away at Ole Miss. We want to go be away at Florida State, and we want to go on the road because the crazy part is our team has played so much at home this year that you also lose the team camaraderie and the fellowship of traveling, right? And so we've now been at home ever since our last away fixture was November 2nd. So that's a month ago. We've been at home ever since, and sometimes going on the road can be super helpful for the fellowship and the camaraderie within your program.
22-0-1 Columbus State gets to host. I don't know if you've heard this before, but they're hosting. They've got another home game this weekend. It is University of West Florida coming to town on Saturday, 3 o'clock at the Walden Soccer Complex. So anybody in the Western Frontier here in the state of Georgia, go. Anybody in the Eastern Frontier that wants to work from God's time zone, at least that's what the boss tells me anyway, that the Central time zone is God's time zone. Everybody can go and catch up with Walden and see what's going on with Columbus State and West Florida. You mentioned the camaraderie. And the last time we talked, it was before the holiday. And I wanted to ask how the holidays were because of one specific example that sticks in my head where Sarah Hungerford, who is from Bryan County, the pride of Bryan County in the Hill, Richmond Hill High School, she took now, did she still end up taking Ui Suzuki home with her for Thanksgiving?
Yep. Yeah, it was awesome. And when they got back, of course, she was the first kid that I asked. I said, how was it with Ui? And she said it was so much fun because Ui hadn't eaten several of the foods that they put in front of her. And so you're talking about, sweet potato pie and green bean casserole and turkey and stuffing. And so these are all items that Ui had never tasted before. So now a soccer ball was involved.
Yes.
So they came, they grabbed 2 soccer balls to make sure they had time to work out. And but no, she said it was awesome, and Ui was very well received. She took Ui down to Savannah, on the cobblestone streets, and walked her down by the river. And so, I think, stuff like that just is what the holidays are all about, and making sure everybody has a place to go and families to be around, especially when Ui's family is so many miles away. So, but no, it was a great holiday, and I'm actually having the team over to my house on Friday night, so we're gonna do a little ugly sweater contest and have a dirty Santa exchange. So we'll enjoy each other's company again because again, we're at home. I mean, these are all things that we would do on the road. We'd be at a restaurant or we'd be at a hotel, and there'd be no option other than to be together. And so we have to create those opportunities for these kids to go, hey, there's more to life than soccer. And we want to make sure our kids have a great experience, to say the least.
Another couple of minutes here with Jay Entlich, the head coach at Columbus State, as they get ready for the national quarterfinals. University of West Florida coming to Walden this weekend, 3 o'clock on Eastern time zone. It's up 2 o'clock Central, so you got to cross the river and go from 2 to 3. So, it's not 3 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock as you work your way over. And it's going to be a great matchup. 22-0-1 Columbus State and the University of West Florida. All right, ugly sweater contest. And we might have to disqualify the individual or individuals that you name because if they're mentioned here, then they may try that little extra to win said competition. We might have to disqualify them if they're volunteered because there's that little extra effort that's attached. Who is your inside favorite in the ugly sweater competition?
Well, we have a little group that likes to call themselves the Red Dogs. I'm not sure where it came from, but it's a bunch of our juniors. They got a lot of personality, and I'd have to say probably that the kind of the funniest kids on the team are like a Brooke Yunt, Maddie Neese, Anna LaBarbera, Gabby Hernandez. They kind of pride themselves on being the pranksters and the jokesters. And I would say one of those four will probably come up with the best ugly sweater. I'm going to probably announce it now. It's going to be one of those four that is the most clever. They just are super witty. Brooke Yunt is a big Florida fan, and all year she keeps saying, Florida's going to shock the world. But in the end, they did. They ended up beating who they beat in the end. They beat LSU, and then they went and beat someone else, and they beat another one. And I'm like, okay, Yunty, I got you. Yeah. Florida Gators. Now, I hope to God they beat Florida State. I think they were winning, but she's a big Gator fan. I know. I hear you.
I can't, as an alum for the school in Tallahassee, I can neither condone or endorse the behavior for the University of South Georgia Gainesville campus. I can't.
Oh boy.
I can't. Yeah.
Listen, my sister went to Florida State. My brother-in-law. I've got countless nieces and nephews, and I'm just so saddened by the demise of the program. I don't get it. I don't understand. You're talking about Bobby Bowden came to Columbus and spoke several years ago, and he was the best speaker ever. And this guy's a legend. And I'm going, what in the world is going on in Tallahassee? I don't understand.
Don't remind me of that.
Yeah. I know. See, now I'm a Hokie. And so I went to Virginia Tech. And so I was at the national championship in 99.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, it was 2000.
Yeah.
January of 2000. I was at the, I can't remember. It was the Superdome back then.
Yeah, it's the Louisiana Superdome.
We were in New Orleans. And I remember this day, we went up 29-28.
Yep.
In the third quarter.
Yep.
And I said, we're going to win a national championship at Virginia Tech.
Not so fast, my friend.
We kicked off, and a guy named Peter Warwick caught the ball on the 1 yard line and ran 99 yards in 7 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And we no longer had the lead.
Correct.
So, but we were winning for 7 seconds. So I'll take it. But listen, my Virginia Tech Hokies haven't been good ever since Frank Beamer left.
Yeah.
And I look at it, and I know a lot of people watch this show, but I tell you, I think they did a not so great job of not hiring a guy named Shane Beamer.
Oh boy,
who's now at South Carolina and got them rolling.
Yeah.
And he was at Virginia Tech when I was there. 90 to 94, he was a long snapper. And great guy. And he's got South Carolina. They're moving. I don't know if they're going to get in. I don't know if they'll get in the top 12, but I like the way they're playing football right now.
Yeah. Hokie, high, Polytech, Virginia.
You got it.
Chicago Maroon and Burnt Orange. And
yep.
Then that was flying into Roanoke and then driving to Blacksburg was one of the most harrowing experiences I ever had when I was doing college play-by-play, because you had those little prop jets that flew into Roanoke from Charlotte at the time.
Yep.
And it's like snow is coming in sideways. You've got basketball players who've never flown before. They've got their hoods down and they're on the tray table choking the life out of stuffed animals and things like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, 22-0-1. You got West Florida. What's the scouting report on the Argos?
They've got a special kid, Maya Swinton, who's extremely talented, a transfer from Vandy, and she's the life of that team. And I think she's going to be a key cog in the wheel, and they've got a really stubborn defense. They don't give up a lot of goals. I think, again, anytime you get to the Elite Eight, you're playing a dang good team that's used to winning, and that's just the bottom line. Joe Bartlinski is a winner. Like I said earlier on the show, he's a guy that winning it just comes natural to him, and his teams are always super, super tough to play against. They're great on set pieces. And, I think it was 2012 when he won the national championship. And, so he's had that taste. And, the other hard part is 2 years ago, they came to Columbus, right about this time. And they went up 3-1. And I think they thought they had it. They thought they had it in the bag. And we pulled a rabbit out of the hat. Figured some things out late and got a goal from Sarah Hungerford with 5 minutes to play and ended up closing out the game to win 4-3. So, I'm sure there's still members of the team that were in that game for UWF, and I'm sure that doesn't sit well. But I think for us, we got to focus on us. We've got a week to prepare, as mentioned, and but we realize the task at hand. That nothing's easy. I was just talking to Colby Hale, a good friend of mine at University of Arkansas, and people don't realize how hard it is to win. They just don't. They think it comes easy. They think you don't have to do anything, and you roll a ball out, and it just gets done. But winning, John, winning is hard,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if people truly appreciate how hard it is to win and the details that have to happen. I think they just think, oh, it's Columbus. They're automatically gonna win. No, it doesn't work that way. So it's tricky.
No doubt. All right, my friend. Thanks for dropping by this morning and breaking everything down as you get ready for the final 8. I don't know if I can say elite and then 8 without getting into trouble with somebody at the NCAA office or something like that. So the final 8 in the final 8 in the NCAA Division II on the women's side this weekend, 3:00 Saturday at Walden. UWF comes to town. Thank you, my friend, for an extended visit. We blew right through the light board with the 4th holding it up, and we just kept right on talking. Great to see you, my friend. Be healthy, be safe, stay warm, and good luck this weekend. We'll catch up with you soon.
Okay. Thank you, John.
You bet. Jay Entlich, head coach of Columbus State, dropping by this morning. And, the problem with bringing Jay on is that we could talk forever because there are so many things about a winning program, about Division II, about consistency, about maintaining a standard of excellence, all those different things. It would almost end up being like a TED Talk to have Jay Entlich on and just to continue to just literally, we could go forever. I mean, Jay could come in and co-host the show and we could have guests and we would knock it out and it would be one of those kinds of things. So having Jay on is officially dangerous, but I was glad that we could catch up with him before practice and have him talk about what happened last weekend against the University of North Georgia. And the series against the University of West Florida, by the way, the Argos, it's 4 wins and 4 losses. Columbus State, and I didn't want to mention this when Jay was on, Columbus State has won the last 4 in the series. He mentioned the match in 22. Down 3-1, came back to win it 4-3. And it was a little over 2 years ago, November 20th of 22. Before that, they didn't play until 2017. So there was 5 years difference. Won 4-0. Then in November in 2016, they won 2-1 in 2 overtimes. Then 2 months earlier in 2016 in Pensacola, they won 3-2. But before then, 2004 in Columbus, they lose 4-0. 2008, they played twice, lost by an aggregate of 6-0. And then lost 3-2 in overtime in 2013 in the regular season. So West Florida won the first 4, but they haven't beaten Columbus State since September 6th of 2013. I mean, yes, granted, they've only played 4 times, twice in 2016, once in 2017, and then in the playoffs in 2022. But Columbus State has won the last 4. They've got a home game this weekend against West Florida, number 1 in the rankings versus number 2, Columbus State, West Florida, in Columbus this weekend, 3:00. If you're within earshot, go to the Walden Sports Complex, and it's been great to catch up with Jay and everybody at Columbus State through this entire run, because then if they win this one, then it's to the national semifinals, and if you win that one, it's the national finals. 22-0-1. They've won 16 in a row. They've won 16 matches in a row. The last blemish they had, the only blemish they had, September 25th against the number 11 team in the country, Lenore-Ryan, in Hickory, when it was a 2-2 draw. So that's what Columbus State is staring at in the mirror every day as West Florida comes to town. And then once again, semifinals, December 13, championship in Division II, December 15. But no, great to catch up with Jay as always, because he's a great sounding board and a great spokesperson for Division II and for winning programs and sustainability and all those things that we talk about. But it's always great to have Jay on and to break everything down when it comes to Columbus State athletics. All right. Bottom of the hour, once again, Kaylor Hodges dropping by to talk about USL Super League and off-season moves and USL Championship and League One, and we'll talk about all those kinds of things. And I know that the conversation has drifted in the Twitch pitch to the coaching search. And I know that everyone is looking at the front office decision, the technical director, GM, whatever, soccer maven, major domo of football, however you want to phrase it. That opening, the speed dating that could or would happen involving a head coach and Garth Lagerwey and the candidates. 3 minutes later, ding, move on to the next guy. I don't know if it Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground, there's like different rooms set up with candidates. Sporting director candidate walks in with Garth. Then you have all the different candidates that are thought of when it comes to the head coaching vacancy in different rooms. Maybe somebody's in the snack bar. Maybe somebody's out back on the lanai. Somebody's in a conference room. Someone's in the lobby. Something like that. How do they get along? 3 minutes of a quick conversation. Ding, go to the next room. Next coaching candidate. I don't know how this is going. Or what the setup is going to be, but it will be intriguing. Is it going to be Garth gets a technical director, then they come in, and then they decide the head coach? How does the speed dating go? That's the biggest question that I have. Is it going to be Garth, head coach, technical director? Hey, we all agree, great, fine. Or we come up with common ground, or something to the other effect. But I know that the two names that you and the Twitch pitch have mentioned are Jim Curtin, Gio Savarese. Would not surprise me if Jim Curtin was being courted by Toronto. And we talked about what happened with John Herdman in Toronto. Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment is going to throw an ish ton of money at anybody. And it would not surprise me if somebody like Jim Curtin decided that he wanted to be both a technical director and sporting director, or whatever title you want to give, and head coach. So he can dictate who comes in, what's spent, what the money goes, and how Toronto FC 2 or the academy how they continue to grow and integrate with the first team. So with that experience, that kind of a thing. I know that the other element is the philosophy, and I don't know the philosophy that he had in Philadelphia. Personality aside, I'm putting the personality aside for a second, and I don't think that would mesh instantly. But philosophically, I don't, because then you would have to take the individuals that you have here, and if they adapt to what Jim Curtin wants to do, that's oil and water to me. It would have to be the other way around. The candidate would have to understand the talent that is in place and work stylistically with that talent that is in place and come up with a philosophy and go there. If you regressed to doing what we've seen with Jim Curtin in Philadelphia, the talent is not there, and you'd have to overhaul your roster again. That's just me. So, Gio Savarese, we know that Gio has been in there and spent a year in television, so we'll see what happens. And we'll see once again. And there could be folks off the board. Javier Mascherano, by the way, was introduced yesterday, did all the promo photos, got the big hug with Jorge Mas outside of the Messi and Friends corporate offices. So Javier Mascherano, I believe, is later today. I think it's at noon. Is that he will be introduced as the new head coach for Messi and Friends. So we'll see what happens there. All right. 20 minutes, Kaylor Hodges dropping by. There were some other things that I wanted to kind of breeze through and get into. Looks like Wayne Rooney, and this is international stuff. Looks like Wayne Rooney's fighting for his job at Plymouth Argyle. 2 really big matches coming up, and it could be at the end of Wayne Rooney's coaching tenure at Plymouth Argyle if that doesn't go over well. And let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything. Oh, yeah, we got to get into FIFA and the 34 World Cup because we're getting close to that. Nick Ames at The Guardian. Saudi Arabia has struck more than 900 sponsorship deals across the sporting landscape, made dozens of formalized agreements with football federations as it prepares for, and this is Ames' word, a controversial coronation to host the 2034 World Cup. The country's stranglehold, Ames' words, has been laid bare by Play the Game, a Danish-run organization that aims to promote democracy, transparency, and freedom of expression in sport. It maps what its authors describe as Saudi Arabia's, quote, strategic effort to reshape the kingdom's global image while leveraging sport as a tool of geopolitical influence, end quote, and underlines how football in particular has been targeted in the build-up to the World Cup announcement next week. Over the last 2.5 years, Saudi Arabia has sealed more than 35 memoranda of understanding with different countries' federations, most recently with Ukraine in October. In total, it has 48 with individual nations and further agreements with Oceania and CAF, the Confederation for African Football. All bar the Ukraine deal, and additional accords with France and Croatia involve countries from outside Europe. While such arrangements, which generally involve pledges to knowledge share and collaborate on aspects of development, are not uncommon in football, the scope of Saudi Arabia's influence and diplomatic clout is eye-catching. Its unopposed bid for the 2034 tournament will be passed on 11 December without a formal vote, so a week from tomorrow, meaning the world's federations will effectively wave it through via a round of applause in an online meeting. Guardian understands there is disquiet among a number of federation chiefs about the remote rush-through nature of the decision. Of the 910 Saudi sponsorships charted by Play the Game, 194 specifically concentrated on football. These include deals closed by Aramco, the state oil company, to sponsor the 26 Men's World Cup and the 27 Women's World Cup, as well as further global age group tournaments and 17 major competitions in the CONCACAF region. Remember that deal that got struck? Among Aramco's 71 deals is a $100 million annual partnership with FIFA that was described as a punch in the stomach 6 weeks ago in an open letter signed by more than 100 women's footballers. Their call for it to be reconsidered on humanitarian and environmental grounds in reference to ongoing concern over Saudi Arabia's record on both fronts has thus fallen on deaf ears. The Saudi PIF, which owns Newcastle United and its subsidiaries, account for 346 sponsorships across a range of sports. The wide-ranging Riyadh season, which will include Alexander Usyk's heavyweight world championship fight against Tyson Fury on the 21st, has become a focus of its ability to host big-ticket events. Play the Game's research has also underlined the fundamental connection between the Saudi state mechanisms and key positions in sports. It finds that 1,412 positions in 207 Saudi entities are held by key members of the country's political elite, with the Newcastle chair, Yasser Al-Rumayyan, a key confidant of the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, holding 22 roles. What's that business card look like? The report alleges various conflicts of interest among figures who are involved in both sport and state entities. On Saturday, Amnesty International accused FIFA of an astonishing whitewash after it released Saudi's 2034 bid evaluation report and awarded a highest ever score of 4.2 out of 5. So the match got 4.2 stars out of a possible 5. Higher technical score from FIFA than the 26 joint bid by the U.S., Canada, and Mexico, even though they have yet to construct a number of stadia proposed for the tournament. Early hours of Saturday morning was when it was released. All venues, including the 92,760-seat King Salman International Stadium in Riyadh, which will not be completed until 2032. But 3 new stadia expected to be finished for the Asian Cup, which kicks off in January 27. The 26 bid score 4.0, having initially proposed 23 stadia, all of which were already built. Eventually, 16 host cities were, with many venues being announced existing NFL stadium. The FIFA report read this: the Saudi bid includes some ambitious stadium projects integrated into unique locations, including the Prince Mohammed bin Salman Stadium located within the Qiddiya development and Neom Stadium located within the Line development. The FIFA report added that although Saudi Arabia's one-of-a-kind, in quotation marks, stadium projects have a lot of potential, the proposed configuration and location would require a reimagining of operations with some associated unknowns or challenges at this moment in time. Neom, which is a Red Sea urban and industrial development nearly the size of Belgium, due to house nearly 9 million people, is central to the Vision 2030 plan. Some of the schemes have had to be scaled back due to rising costs, including the Line, a futuristic city between mirrored walls extending 106 miles into the desert within Neom. FIFA added, consequently, should the bid be successful, it would be imperative to closely monitor and support these projects from initiation to completion. Stadiums alone account for 35% of the overall score awarded to bids, and FIFA claimed the level of risk in the 2026 bid was low. Well, duh, considering that they're all built already. However, the Saudi bid had a medium level of risk. Votes due to be held at the FIFA Congress next month to approve the 2030 and 2034 World Cups, although each has only a single bid. This was written on the 30th of November. That's why it said next month. So basically this month. Saudi Arabia, the lone bidder for 34. A combined bid from Morocco, Spain, and Portugal is the sole one for 2030. The 2030 World Cup bid also received a score of 4.2. FIFA said the Saudi bid did not stipulate a proposed window for the World Cup, but it would collaborate with stakeholders to determine the optimal timing for the tournament. Due to the country's desert climate, the 2034 World Cup may be pushed to a winter slot, just as they did in Qatar in 2022. FIFA's bid report said Saudi Arabia submitted commitments to, quote, respecting, protecting, and fulfilling internationally recognized human rights, closed quote, period. Those include areas of safety and security, labor rights of migrant workers, rights of children, gender equality and non-discrimination, as well as freedom of expression, including press freedom, close quote, period. So when this bid is approved and rubber stamped a week from tomorrow, do not be surprised if it is announced that it will be a winter tournament, much like it was 2 years ago when it was in Qatar. Just saying, it's there. But FIFA has issued a glowing report on Saudi Arabia with a higher grade than the 26 bid involving this hemisphere. All the stadia are built, low risk, everything is there, but it got a lower score than the Saudi bid and the tri-host bid for 2030. Both of those, once again, set to be rubber stamped by a raise of a hand in a virtual meeting next week. Other stuff, West Ham may approach Conceição to replace Julian Lopetegui. Lopetegui, after losing and getting blown out by Arsenal, it looks like Sergio Conceição may be looked at as the replacement. Lopetegui hired as David Moyes' replacement last summer, got the 2-0 win at Newcastle, but then Arsenal had a 4-0 lead inside 36 minutes. Conceição left Porto last summer. 3 league titles, twice took him to the Champions League quarters, thought to be attracted to the job. They've yet to establish contact with him, according to The Guardian, but there is support with him within the club. Other contenders, Max Allegri, Graham Potter, Christophe Galtier, who's coaching in Qatar. West Ham 6 points above the bottom 3, yet to advance, interested in Edin Terzic. They've made checks on Kasper Schulmand, Roger Schmidt, and Stuttgart Sebastian Hoeneß. But remember, West Ham, they have not been one to sit there and pull a quick trigger when it comes to managerial input, and those kinds of things. So it might end up being, this would end up being probably the first time that something like this would have happened if West Ham is that mad that they would pull the trigger on something like this. And so Rich Ransom, once again, from our FIFA discussion, has posted a link with the Play the Game report for that. I will go ahead and make this requested reading for the day. Playthegame.org and their publications where Play the Game discusses Saudi Arabia. So we'll see what happens there. And Will, you are not alone in thinking that 2030 should have been the centennial in Argentina and Uruguay. You are not the only one that thought that. I don't know if you saw this or not. How many of you have seen a Leicester match this year on TV, streaming, what have you? Show of hands. I don't anticipate there's a lot of you. But there is a sponsor on the front of the Leicester jersey called BC.Game. It is a hollowed out B that looks like it has something incredibly similar to the Pac-Man character. I don't think you can necessarily sit there and use those words, but that's what it looks like, lest you get in trouble with Midway or whomever the current rights holder is for the Pac-Man image, name, image, and likeness. But there is something called BC.game on the front of the Leicester jersey. They're the main sponsor this year. It is Adidas. It is the Leicester crest. And if Jason Nix's ears are burning with his Leicester fandom, this is why. BC.game. They're the main sponsor on the front of the Leicester jersey this year. And when we always mention more than one reporter on a byline, that's something you don't want. And two, when Yosemite football knocks on your door, that's something you don't want. So Leicester's 2 for 2 here. According to a document seen by Yosemite football, and if you're into big investigative reporting, this is a great website to become a member for. To end a sentence and a preposition. Philip Auclair and Steve Menery. According to a document sent by Yosemite football, the Curacao Gaming Control Board is minded to revoke the license of Small Dance BV, the company which operates the online sports betting casino and crypto trading platform BC.game. And the B is like a Bitcoin B. Current sponsor of Leicester City and partner of the Argentine Football Federation, the AFA. I have to log into my account so I can read the rest of the article. So BC.game is in trouble. Small House BV was declared bankrupt by the Joint Court of Justice of Aruba, Curacao, St. Martin, and the BES Islands on 12 November, having failed to pay back over $2 million owed to a group of 5 gamblers. Small House had taken over BC.game from another company back at the end of April. That company had also been declared bankrupt. The Curacao Authority intention to revoke BC.game's license, according to the article from Menery and Auclair, is a logical step in one sense. The bankruptcy order served on Small House naturally raised concerns about their ability to operate the platform within the constraints of their license, and how would they pay their customers winnings if they were bankrupt? I don't think that's a good thing for a casino. I'm just saying out loud. If you are a casino and you're bankrupt, A, how do you run? And B, how do you pay out winnings, especially in an online manner? And C, if you are betting through this particular window, why? Hey, they've declared bankruptcy as an online casino. I think I'll continue to do business with them. It just makes you wonder how many folks are still navigating through that. Hundreds of complaints from the general public over the years, virtually unknown for licensees to be struck off their register under Curaçao's former licensing regime. The new system, gradually taking over from the old one, just as controversial, which might explain why the intent to show it's not as toothless as some have had. To quote from an address Curaçao Finance Minister Javier Silvania made to Parliament, perception portrayed as a hub for criminal activities and money laundering, contributing to a negative image. However, this perception is set to change with the new National Ordinance for Games of Chance, which will enhance our reputation by promoting transparency, accountability, and compliance with international standards in these critical areas. A local politician has lodged a 392-page long criminal complaint against Javier Silvania, accusing him of misconduct, corruption, fraud, embezzlement, and money laundering. And BC.game is regularly cited in the complaint. BC.game has had their license revoked. 5 gamblers owed more than $2 million, took them to court, but they still, as a crypto casino operator, 2 of those 3 words, when compared and added to the third word, they're bad enough as it is. crypto operator, casino operator. But you combine the three words, crypto casino operator. That just doesn't work well, I don't think. And it's not in this case, but you're still on the front of the shirt of Leicester City. BC.Game has Jason Derulo as their number one ambassador and a rapper and crypto enthusiast, Lil Pump. I'm barely have heard of Jason Derulo, and I've not heard of Lil Pump. But apparently they are the top two ambassadors for BC.Game. Main sponsors of Leicester until June of 26. Teamed up with the Argentine FA just before they won the 22 World Cup. Annual gross gaming revenue, slightly under €1 billion, according to information received by Yosemar from credible sources, but still declared bankrupt by a court in Curacao. Money vanished from the 5 gamblers when that ownership change happened back in April. Both companies were registered in Curacao, playing at the 5 gamblers that lost their $2 million. Requested that since BC.Game was unable to honor the debt, those companies should be declared bankrupt. The new company that bought the old company in April argued that they'd taken over the website and the software, but not the financial obligations. Court of First Instance of Curacao had first rejected the plaintiff's request back in April, found in their favor on appeal in November, annulling the first verdict, declaring Block Dance and Small House bankrupt and appointing a bankruptcy judge and a trustee to dispose of the assets. And so what Yosemar has done is they've gone down the road and they have broken it all down. So if you want to go through court filings and look at things, once again, required reading of the day, in addition to the playthegame.org, you can go to Yosemar Football and take a peek, especially if you're into investigative stuff. More investigative stuff, more news of the day, more gossip, rumor and innuendo, and other things coming up in just a little bit. But since Kaylor Hodges has got all the green lights in his travels, he came in 3 minutes early. So we're going to bring him in 3 minutes early and let everybody see what's going on with Kaylor Hodges. Kaylor, I was going to say, you have a light that is like directly over your head, and yes, it is one of those lights that gives you the quality of a glow. You are glowing this morning, sir.
It also blocks like half my face, which is good for everybody.
You're stealing my material, sir.
What can I say?
Yes. I wanted to bring you on this go around to talk about the USL Super League and what's going on there. We have some teams that are making their offseason moves and get into that and to see if you have heard anything about all of our friendly neighborhood court cases that are going on and anything else that's going on, the gossip, rumor, and innuendo that it's going on across the USL on the whole. For those that have not had the chance to catch the USL Super League in action so far this season, what are they missing out on?
I mean, honestly, the biggest thing they're missing out on is fun soccer. It is just fun. It is you're 13 weeks into all these clubs existing, right? Well, 13 match weeks.
Yes.
So there is going to be some weird growing pains, but from the get-go, you are seeing the quality. You are seeing players who maybe just didn't get the chance in NWSL for whatever reason, or they didn't get their chance in another top flight league, and they're getting that chance here. And it's fun. There's good technical players. There are great defensive players. There is fantastic goalkeeping. I cannot get over how good the level of goalkeeping is in the league. It's just a lot of fun play that I'm not going to say rivals NWSL, because I do think NWSL is the best league in the women's league in the world, but it's not so far off that they can't be compared.
So as we go, I'm not going to, unless you off the top of your head, will sit there and give me a best 11 as we hit the halfway point here and the winter solstice. But you mentioned great goalkeeping and all the fun scoring. And basically, if you looked at the juice boxes, I think the safe play would be to take the over on most of these matches.
Yeah.
Who would be some of the standouts that folks should gravitate toward when we get to the winter schedule and the spring schedule in the second half of the year in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, you're obviously going to be looking at your goal leaders. Addie McCain is great. Allie Thornton is up there. Madison Parsons is leading the way. Someone who has recently joined and scored what I genuinely believe is the goal of the year out of all USL leagues, where you have Jasmine Hamid for Fort Lauderdale. And those are your strikers or your forwards that you are going to be looking at. Out of the goalkeeping position, pick your favorite, someone who is close and dear to a lot of South Georgia. You have Sydney Martinez has been absolutely stunning. Sarah Cox has, well, frankly, it's been a shooting gallery, but she stands on her head most of the time. Megan McClendon is great. Ashley Orcus and Lauren Kozal, they've been kind of going back and forth on who's starting, who's the true GK1, but they're both just really good. As defensively, I mean, you're going to see a lot of great players. Sydney Studdard has been really good. Sydney Shepherd is one of my favorite players to watch in the league. Same thing for Sarah Clark. Just absolutely some of my favorite players to watch all around.
For those that may not be keeping up with Super League right now, 8-team league here in their first season. It's Brooklyn, Carolina Ascent, Dallas Trinity, Tampa Bay Sun, in one of the coolest ideas for a stadium that we've seen in quite some time, right up against the water.
One of the coolest entrances, if you haven't seen it. They come in via boat.
Yes.
It's the best.
I'm waiting for you and Morrissey and everybody from the USL show to do that same entrance for one of your road trips when you're down there, to make that same kind of an entrance on location.
Do you think they'll let us on the boat? Do you think we can ask?
I think you can always ask and catch up with Christina Uncle and see if she'll let you do it. You might have to sign a waiver, but I could see that happening. Fort Lauderdale United, DC Power, Spokane Zephyr, and Lexington SC, the 8 squads that are right now in the first season of USL Super League. Top 3 separated by 3 points: Brooklyn, Carolina, and Dallas. Then you have group number 2, which is Tampa Bay, Fort Lauderdale, DC, and Spokane, separated by 4 points, and Lexington right now at 2-7-3 through their first 12. And when you look at these markets, I don't know how many matches the USL show has consumed when it comes to Super League. But when you look at attendance, when you look at response inside each of these marketplaces, what have you seen when it comes to Brooklyn? I know that they were supposed to play at Maimonides, and there was stuff that they had to figure out there, and they had to find a different venue. Carolina Ascent is a part of the growth of that particular venue. Dallas at the Cotton Bowl, Tampa Bay with the boat ride to bring everybody into the Riverside Stadium, Fort Lauderdale, DC, Spokane playing on the edge. For everybody there, and then Lex SC with their new stadia. From what you've been able to take in from these venues, what has the response been like when it comes to attendance and crowd support?
I think that when you saw the beginning of Carolina Ascent, you saw what it could be with, I think they had close to 10,000 people, but it's clearly fallen off since then. I think when you saw, especially Fort Lauderdale's attendance the other night was not great. Dallas is playing in the Cotton Bowl, which is a massive stadium. It's going to look bad, but it hasn't been horrible. Spokane Zephyr has been one of the most consistent teams, getting pretty good turnouts week in, week out.
Yeah.
I think they're just going through new league growing pains and people just not really knowing what the Super League is. At this point, the NWSL has built up a name for itself that people know what the NWSL is. Meanwhile, I think that a lot of people are just like, what is a Super League? What is that? And I think they're going to just go through those growing pains. That said, I do think that we are seeing somewhat growth, I guess, from those initial big pops of new team, let's go check it out, then it kind of die away. I think you're starting to see it level out and start to grow again as we get out of a different kind of season, I suppose, because for most soccer fans in the US, are like playoff time, it's over, games are over, but they're still going. And I think people are going to check it out.
So for these markets like a Fort Lauderdale, and I know that that Dallas playing in the Cotton Bowl, they want to attach to the history of the Cotton Bowl. They want to bring folks into a large venue. I imagine that probably just the 100 level is where right now you're seeing folks sit. They haven't gotten into the upper parts of the Cotton Bowl. How would you, if you were the USLS fixer for these markets that are having issues with attendance, not the ones like Carolina where they started off hot and then obviously you're dealing with high school football, you're dealing with colder temperatures, you're dealing with all these kinds of things, and there's that natural tapering off. But for the markets that are having problems being a part of the fabric of the market that they're in, how would you help them address their issues?
Just be more active, basically, in your communities. Someone like Tampa Bay, it's kind of hard because you saw what they went through with the Hurricanes, right?
Yep.
Like there was a while where it's like, are they even going to be able to come back home and play? I mean, you saw Tampa Bay Rowdies get displaced and a whole lot of other issues. I think it's just being more involved because everybody in the first year of something is going to struggle with finding some kind of attendance. I think just making yourself involved. I think, and this is obviously a semi-professional team, I get that, but take the route of a Greenville Triumph / Liberty.
Yeah.
You can't go anywhere in the city of Greenville or in the surrounding area without seeing either the Liberty or the Triumph logo. You can't. I think they just have to truly ingrain themselves as quickly and as deeply as you can. Don't say, we want the certain people to come around. People don't know what they like until they experience it. So build the intrigue. Don't let there be a corner on a street that doesn't have your logo on it. Eventually someone's going to look it up and buy a ticket and just see what it's about.
And when you get in the first time, make sure that you do what you can to keep them. Don't treat yourself like a vegetable. Treat yourself like a dessert, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, don't be afraid to make it a show. And, a lot of teams are going to say that's going to cost a lot of money. If we pull all the stops all the time, it's going to cost a lot of money. But welcome to owning a professional sport team.
Yes.
Like, what? I don't know what you expected.
Well, it's like, I expected everything to happen. You want it all to sit there and be like, yes, we're going to be successful from absolute jump. Maybe, maybe not. Just depends on what you're staring at here. At the atypical markets, I want to go to the bottom of the table, but I don't want to look at wins and losses. I want to talk about Spokane. I want to talk about Lexington. Lexington moving into their new barn across the board. It is, and the move from League One to Championship over time to add to the USLS. Spokane seems to have embraced their new franchises, plural, over at the Edge, and it seems to be a fun environment that they're creating in Spokane for an expansion team in an atypical market, although we have to get adjusted to access and things like that and give them more support with Western clubs, whether we're talking League One or USLS. It looks like Spokane has embraced what's going on there at the Edge with Velocity and Zephyr.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't help but say, look at what's in Spokane versus what's in Lexington.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is the same thing that Birmingham has to deal with, right? When you get into basketball season, what is a person in Lexington going to choose? Basketball or a new soccer team?
Yeah.
That's kind of the harsh reality. I mean, the University of Kentucky, University of Louisville, or what's the other university around there, or just even their favorite alma mater's basketball games.
Bellarmine, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're more invested in those, and it has nothing to do with soccer versus basketball. You just have investment. Meanwhile, Spokane doesn't have as much, as far as I know. Like, they don't have a major university because Washington,
Gonzaga
is there,
mm-hmm.
and that's kind of it. You're looking at a couple of like lower league hockey teams or like some minor league baseball teams, but you're really not looking at much else. So they are the biggest ticket in town besides Gonzaga, of course, which has a small court and, you can't fit that many people in there.
Right.
They are the biggest ticket in town. Meanwhile, Lexington, I think, has to battle a little bit more. That said, I think that Lexington is going to build a lot of natural intrigue now that they are going to be joining Louisville City in the championship. And by getting people through the door on the championship side, I think people are going to be more willing to try out the Super League side.
I mean, you got Louisville and Lexington. Well, first off, you got Lipa, and now you're turning that into a three-way dance with Louisville, Indy, and Lexington. And the are we going to go ahead and start calling it the Bluegrass Derby, or are we just going to go ahead and call it that now?
Some people are trying to come up with stuff, some with bourbon. I don't know. I mean, Lexington had something with Knoxville that was like the battle for the barrel, and it was whiskey versus bourbon. I'm sure somebody's going to come up with something clever, and everybody's going to love it, but everybody else is going to be like, "Yep, Bluegrass Derby." That's just going to be kind of what it is.
When you look at Lexington, I know that you had this grand idea of building the stadium and the multiple fields, and it's, I think in Lexington it's a longer term runway. I think for Lexington, at least with all the construction that they want and the big facility that they have, where Spokane wants to make the big splash immediately and go, hey, we're here. And we've got multiple franchises that can make that big splash. And so I think that you look at the patience level of different folks, and you're hoping that obviously they'll all be on the same track. It's just that you've got to be patient in some folks, and some folks want to sit there and hit the ground running. And I think that you look at Spokane and Lexington and you see the extremes in that.
I also think that with Lexington specifically, they immediately took to academy first, which is an immediate long-term vision. Coach Stockley, who is now just straight up, I think, just director of football, GM, whatever you want to call him, said that he wanted to have a homegrown talent and academy talent in every single lineup. It like that was basically a requirement. We are going to have someone homegrown in every single lineup, whether it be in the 18 or in the 11, which that academy first kind of idea is just a longer term project. They are investing in the U7s, U9s, U10s, U12s, et cetera, where it feels like they are starting to get the young kids to be fans of the team by getting them to be a part of the team. And I feel like when you look at a long-term vision of 10 years, when you have someone who started as a U9 who's getting a U19, chance, you're going to see more long-term care and investment. Not saying that Spokane's not going to get that, obviously. I think that Spokane is building it the right way as well. But I think that Lexington did have that longer-term vision than maybe Spokane did.
All right. We have some clubs that are making decisions on and off the field, and we'll roll through some this morning, literally as of 25 minutes ago. Lou City has announced the players that they have coming back for 25. 18 players already on the roster. Sharpie, Amadou Dia, Goodrum, Wilson Harris, McFadden, Jake Morris, Ardonez, Adrian Perez, Manny Perez, Sean Tosh, Elijah Winder. Contract set to continue into the new year. Options picked up: Isaac Cano, Evan Davila, Sam Gleadle, Carlos Miguel Jr., Serrano, and Troutman. Club wishes well to the departing players. Owen Dom, end of his deal. Damian Loss, end of the loan. Dylan Maris, end of the contract. Sebastian Sanchez, end of contract. Jorge Gonzalez, who suffered a season-ending injury last summer, continues to coordinate with the club on his rehabilitation. Lou City remains in negotiation to sign other returning players, with more announcements expected in the coming days. Any surprises in that group from you?
No. I think the notable missing name is an OMB, which as he is returning from just injury. So I think I would be shocked if that's the last you see of Brian Ownby. I'm sure he's going to get some kind of contract to either stay as like a coach type role or, continue training and getting better. I think that I think the missing name that I have not seen is Taylor Davila.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen his name listed on anything. And I'm assuming he's going to be one of the people that are in contract negotiations. I'm sure that's the case because, I mean, he was their best player last year. I would be shocked to see if he doesn't come back. I think what you're going to really have to see here is what are they going to do with the goalkeeping position?
Yes.
Because Fondes is great, Troutman's great, but it's not Damian Loss. And there is a world where they bring back Simla as he was at Philadelphia Union and they're having turnover there. I'm sure they're going to make a big splash. I'm sure they're going to do something crazy that just makes everybody say, oh, lose city's lose city. But honestly, everything seemed pretty on brand as expected.
Oakland came out with a training facility purchase update yesterday, Monday, November 18. And so they make this public 2 weeks after that. Oakland Roots and Soul SC were informed by Prologus, a large real estate investment firm, that the company would no longer pursue the transactions related to the club's training facility. Transactions expected to close 2 weeks ago would have resulted in the sale of the training facility to Prologus, along with an agreement to lease the facility to Roots and Soul. For over 9 months, Roots and Soul, alongside Prologus, worked with the city of Oakland and the county of Alameda to complete due diligence and finalize the purchase of the facility. Goal was to provide a long-term home for men's, women's, and development teams. Unexpected and disappointing decision by Prologus has prompted the club, the city of Oakland, and the county of Alameda to come together, work toward a solution that would achieve the same goal of retaining the facility as Roots and Soul's long-term home. Club has proposed to step in as the designated buyer as it finds a new financial partner for the transaction. Quoting Roots, we remain committed to finding a solution that supports our team, supports the financial future of the city and the county, and reflects the values of Oakland first always. That was the statement that Roots came out with yesterday. That's a big old that's a big old dumping of the desserts on the table onto the floor for the party right now for Oakland.
Yeah, for people who kind of didn't fully understand, basically, they were set to take over the Raiders' old facility, and their primary buyer, who was a primary investor, decided to pull out of the $25 million deal, $28 million deal, whichever one it was, and now Oakland is looking for a new training facility with about 2 months until teams start training again.
Yeah.
So, I think they get it worked out, but obviously they are looking to have alternative plans for the time being. But with Oakland planning to take on the primary purchase themselves, they are planning to just go forward with it. I feel like they're going to get it worked out and it's going to be okay. But I'm sure this is a big stressor that's on their mind. That said, they have done a really good job with their open part. You can be a part of the ownership thing. They have raised a lot of money. I think the last number I saw was like $33 million. I'm sure that there's somebody that's willing to invest, that is willing to put the money where the mouth is. And if you're the city of Oakland, what's your plan for the Raiders facility? I mean, you've already seen that Oakland's willing to act in good faith. The Oakland Roots are willing to act in good faith with the Coliseum, right? Mm-hmm. Otherwise, the Coliseum was just going to continue to fall apart in and of itself. I think that if all parties act in good faith, they'll get it worked out.
Lexington announced they signed Cameron Lancaster and Atez Juf to new contracts ahead of their entry into championship for the 25 season. Obviously, the transactions are pending league and federation approval. Leading scorers last season for the club, Lancaster, 8 goals in 17 regular season appearances. And so, Cameron Lancaster, who was dinged for half the season, still ended up with 8 in 17. So if you extrapolate that out under a full season, that's a 16-goal season. Atez Juf had 7 goals and 4 assists, 28 chances, and 20 regular season appearances. And so you're looking at, I think, the 2 linchpins for them in their growth and their promotion, their self-promotion to USL Championship. I think getting both of them back in there was big for 25.
Yeah, I know there was some kind of conversation in our Discord about how you don't want a Cameron Lancaster leading the lines, to which I say, why not? Yes, he is 32, 33 years old. He is not the same player he was previous to his ACL injury, but he is one of the best poachers and just natural goal scorers that this league still has to offer. If you are trying to go at the end of the game and just put the ball into the box, just death by a million crosses, who do you want to have their head or foot on the end of the ball other than Cameron Lancaster? I think that it makes sense for all parties. Obviously, Lexington's going to look to make a bigger splash at the striking position, let Cameron Lancaster be more of a super sub type role, or let him be more of a hold up kind of guy, late run into the top of the box kind of guy. Although that's kind of that's kind of his role as well. You're going to be looking at something like that. If you're Cameron Lancaster, you're someone who has lived near Lexington, obviously in the state of Kentucky, with being playing in Louisville forever. So you don't have to move house. You don't have to go anywhere else. You can just stay living in the same place that you have been. I think it makes sense for all parties. And it's a good start if you are looking at recouping some goals that you missed out on last year.
16 players not returning, and then an additional 2 who were on loan returning to their parent clubs. I mean, for Lexington SC, their first year in USL Championship, what do you anticipate their roster accumulation being? Is it going to be something where they're going to be patient, or are they going to try and make a big splash and try and fill the building out of the blocks here? Because blowing up the roster like this, where 16 players aren't going back to their parent clubs on loans. Yes, you're bringing back Lancaster and Juve as you should, but you're basically getting this roster assembly from scratch going into you're going at a division higher in the pyramid here.
I don't know what to expect from Lexington, because Lexington didn't expect this. This roster that they released essentially was supposed to be their day one championship roster.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you look at all the names that were there, you look at the bill that they were, spending. This was supposed to be a championship roster in of itself. They're having to scrap that idea. Now, if we saw last year's investment, I think that shows that they are willing to invest, and I would be shocked if they don't try to go for big names. Now, whether they sign them or not, I don't know. But I have a feeling they're going to be finalists for a lot of guys. But they're going to have to be smart, because they saw last year just signing guys is not going to work. Now, I questioned the Powell signing from the very beginning. I thought that was stupid, frankly. But clearly they're trying to go in a different direction. And I think that a complete overhaul is needed. But what they decide to do after this is, I think, if you say you're just guessing.
Rhode Island named their first go-round of folks exercising contract options on Jackson Lee, Frank Nodarce, Joe Brito, Clay Holstead, Noah Fuson, joining 9 players under contract for 25, Koke Vegas, Stephen Turnbull, Grant Stoneman, Karifa Yao, Zach Aravo, Mark Ibarra, Jose Quizera, J.J. Williams, Albert Dikwa. They're bringing back 14, and that's a big nucleus of that group that made it to the last game of the year.
Barring a couple of loans, you're looking at their championship final squad, right? I mean, you are looking at guys, and they are about to announce a massive signing in of itself. They are already getting some work done, so be on the lookout for that.
Okay.
Rhode Island's wasting no time. Kano and Co. is not wasting any time. They're going to be contenders next year. People were already looking at them as, big splash. They should be contending last year. They will be contenders this year, because if their first signing that they are going to be making is any kind of preview into the signings that they're going to continue to make, good luck, Eastern Conference.
What did you think about your hometown club getting Fernando Delgado after three appearances with Real Monarchs in 2024? Permanent move for Fernando Delgado to Birmingham Legion. What did you think?
Kind of fits in line with what they've been doing. Sign young upcoming talent and hopefully sell them on for the future. Delgado is going to be a youth Mexican international. I think he might be a dual national. That might have that choice, but I'm not positive on that. 18 years old. He got some appearances with Legion last year, but granted, who didn't get appearances in goal last year?
Mm-hmm.
as I kind of alluded to on socials, and it was confirmed by the club, bringing Delgado back, I think, was what made it obvious that Tommy Sohn was coming back, bringing back a player that he was used to. I think it also shows that either a Matt Van Oekel or a Trevor Spangenberg or both are going to be moving on from the club. Granted, Matt Van Oekel is he's a coach. He's already a coach, so seems like taking on that full role. But we'll find out soon, as their first round of rosters are supposed to be coming out with, at least within the next week, because it kind of has to. So I think that it's a good direction. Watching him train, he was impressive. He is a very good technically sound player. The really thing that you're looking at is experience. You're wanting him to get a lot more experience at playing against men, and you want him to get more experience with communicating and knowing how to talk to a back line, how to talk to a back line that is significantly older than you. I think it's a great signing for the future. If he's GK1, I'll be interested to see how it goes. I would be shocked if he was a transfer for him to be a GK2. So he looks like the goalkeeping star for the future for the Legion.
All right, one more thing for you before you get out of here and actually have to go back to work before you're getting paid. Harry says, poor Kaylor, another year, same old Legion. In Harry's opinion, need to change it, manager, to create new buzz and hopefully take the next step. What say you, sir?
It's hard. I thought it was the right time for Tommy Sohn to get the promotion to a director of football. I thought that was the right move for the club. But I also had mentioned before that Legion had one of three problems, or a combination of all three, of either a coaching issue, a scouting issue, or an owner investment issue. It's one of those three, because if you look at the season, you say, well, Tommy Sohn had enough talent to win. He didn't win. That's a coaching issue. If you say, well, Tommy Sohn's a great coach, but he didn't have the players, you either say, did we have a bad round of scouting, or were the owners not willing to invest? With Tommy Sohn coming back, it's time to look at points 2 and 3. Either fix the scouting or fix the ownership issues, and will be willing to spend the money. So by Tommy Sohn coming back, all the pressure's on ownership at this point. I think that you have a coach who this last year was the first year he's ever missed the playoffs, and you finish in 9th or 10th, and it was close. And it was just riddled with injuries and other issues. I can understand why bringing him back, and it feels like if you've done that well, you've earned your right to have one last shot at it.
Okay, so what's going on with at the USL show? As we always make a point to point out your scarf here in Office HD. So what's the latest?
And we should make a point to go ahead and say we've already bought the Soccer Down Here kit. So just go ahead.
Yeah, baby. Thank you. Awesome.
So yes, we recorded yesterday and it's already up. We did championship review, the championship review, and then we did our combined best 11. So we took the best players from League One, best players from the championship, created a team basically, so our all leagues best 11. We had 6 players from League One, 6 members of League One, 6 members of the championship. The manager of the team is from League One. Was not on purpose. We did not mean to do that, but we thought that those are the players and managers that stood out the most.
Kind of like a guy named Casciato. I think that might be the guy that you might be.
You would be incorrect.
What? Really?
I mean, spoiler, Ayman Zayed is like our manager of the year.
Okay.
How can you? I mean, if you look at the fact that he and his players were not getting paid and they won a championship,
yeah.
Dang good manager.
Yeah, I would agree. So you coming back next week?
Why not?
All right. Well, then you're coming back next week. We'll see you next Tuesday at 10:30, and we'll talk more stuff about what's going on in the Super League, the championship, and League One, my friend. Great to see you. Get back to work.
Good to see you.
There goes Kaylor. And Kaylor's going to go get coffee and do other things that are highly productive. Once again, at the USL show, and thanks to them for picking up the SDH kit. And once again, you can go to Olive and York and get our first ever kit. And it was fun to see Scott Flood and the Flood Project piece that together, once again, to help out causes that we have earmarked for 2025. So once again, go to Olive and York, and you can go and find out all about our kit and all of our things right there. Olive and York, collections, kits, products, SDH Network Soccer Down Here supporters kit. So go there, get that, and you can find out everything else that's going on with us. All right, so let me. Oh yeah, I meant to get into this before we get out of here. Hang on just a second. It is a piece of breaking news, and so we've got to get into this. And so let me hit the right notes and make sure that we can expand the conversation. Of course, I can't hear it now. Great. Fantastic. All right. Anyway. Okay. Sources confirm that Jill Ellis is now chief football officer at FIFA. How did that not work? Seriously, how did that not work? You hit a button and it doesn't work, and then you hit the button and it does. Anyway, FIFA confirms Jill Ellis as chief football officer. She will work alongside Arsene Wenger, FIFA's chief of global football development, and her responsibilities include key technical areas connected to the development of the game across the world. So that comes out this morning. Jill Ellis joins FIFA as chief football officer. From the release from FIFA, their own selves. In joining FIFA, Jill Ellis will serve as part of the World Governing Body's executive management team, driving the development and implementation of FIFA's global football strategy. Mentions her bio. In her new role, working alongside Arsene Wenger. Creation of the chief football officer position underscores FIFA's commitment to fostering a diverse, inclusive, and accessible global football community, ensuring that football remains a sport for all. This is FIFA's release. It also marks another step toward FIFA achieving its ambition to make football truly global and to give every talent, both boys and girls, a chance. FIFA Secretary General Matthias Grafström said, quote, Jill's experience, enthusiasm, and outstanding achievements make her the perfect choice for this role. She's been a true inspiration for many, and I look forward to seeing the impact of her work continue to inspire many more around the world. FIFA is very proud to have Jill and Arsene, two of the great football leaders and thinkers, to help us make our vision for football a reality. Her appointment demonstrates FIFA's commitment to the future of the game and to creating more opportunities for the next generation. Paragraph. I am honored to join FIFA in this pioneering role and to contribute to the growth of football from a global perspective. Ellis said, quote, FIFA has a unique ability through football to unite communities and to drive the game's development worldwide. Having experienced football from grassroots programs up to senior national team level, I've seen firsthand its transformative power. So there you go. Jill Ellis. Thank you, Derek. I'm glad you could hear it. That must have sounded slightly disjointed. So Jill Ellis has been appointed to the new role of chief football officer at FIFA, joining Arsene Wenger in the development of the game. Morning, Harry. Morning, Commando. And I'm right there with you about the Dallas Trinity colors. Digging the scarf. Absolutely true. So Jill Ellis gets a promotion, gets a new gig. And by the way, since we're discussing developing breaking news, as of 4 minutes ago, MLS has announced the 2024 MLS Best 11 presented by Continental Tire. Christian Kalina in net, defenders Jordi Alba, Yamar Gomez-Andrade, and Steven Marrera from Crew. Lucho Acosta, Evander, Ricky Puig in the midfield. Benteke, Buanga, Cucho, and Lionel Messi are your forwards. So that was officially announced 4 minutes ago. So now you have teams that are coming out with the releases and discussing what was going on with the MLS Best 11 presented by a tire company that's not sponsoring us yet. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we get out of here. Now that we have told you about Jill Ellis's new gig, and everything else that is attached to it this morning, and the best 11 from Major League Soccer. Let you know about the traffic for the remainder of the week. The Atlanta United Information Exchange Program once again continues tomorrow, and that is Tyler joining us at 9:15. We'll see if Dylan Butler can join us at 10. And we're also tracking down a lot of the colleges that are still going on deep in their playoffs. We've reached out to SCAD. We've reached out to Dalton State. And we're trying to track them down as well and let you know what's going on for teams that are making deep runs in the postseason. Maddie and Jason are going to Clayton State. And after their big win over Limestone, they get Lynn next in Division II on the men's side. They're going to be down there on Thursday, so keep an eye out for that material that's going to come out across the network with before the whistles and things like that. I'm anticipating. So Clayton State, they're going to keep an eye on Clayton State for you, but we have reached out to SCAD. We have reached out, obviously, to Columbus State. 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon at Walden. University of West Florida comes to play, and it is a big matchup in the round of 8 in Division II and NCAA. Great to have Jay Entlich on this morning to break everything down at Columbus State. So gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it before we get out of here. And once again, avoid the 3 and the 4-letter papers, because if you click on the 4-letter paper, it causes computers to crash. Real Madrid have made contact with Diego Dalot. They've been told Manchester United would demand £41.5 million for him, but Trent Alexander-Arnold remains their priority. That's from Relevo. United have also opened up talks about signing Victor Gyökeres from Sporting in the summer. Manchester City have also stepped up their efforts to bring in the forward. Salah would accept a new 1-year contract at Liverpool, but he is increasingly exasperated by the club's handling of negotiations. That doesn't sound good. And that comes from Ornstein and everybody at The Athletic. PSG have not held talks with Mo Salah despite being linked. West Ham, once again, we mentioned Conceição being the replacement for Lopetegui. Ruben Amorim set to hold talks over a new deal with Amad Diallo, whose contract runs out in the summer. Bayern Munich have opened talks over a contract extension with Leroy Sané. Leicester City considering terminating the season-long loan deal for Odsonne Edouard in January. We mentioned Wayne Rooney and Plymouth Argyle. Home matches against Oxford United, Swansea City, thought to be pivotal. Manchester City among a number of clubs interested in midfielder Adam Wharton, but the Eagles are determined to keep the England international at least until the summer. 4-letter paper. Chelsea also could allow Mykhailo Mudryk to leave the club on loan during the January transfer window. Mudryk wants to stay. Real Madrid planning to offer Raul Asensio a new deal with better terms, according to Fabrizio Romano. Villa targeting a new right back in the January window. Spurs and Newcastle pursuing Lens 20-year-old Uzbek center back Abdulkadir Kusanov. And West Ham have decided to offer Vladimir Kufal a new contract rather than offload the right back. That's your gossip, rumor, and innuendo this morning. So what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. I'll let you know what's going on the soccer on the TVs. So soccer on the TVs today. Bart's going to be busy later tonight, or later this afternoon anyway. Netherlands and the USA is at 2:45 and a friendly. Sweden and Serbia in the Women's Euro 2025 qualifying at 1 o'clock. France and Spain on a friendly. 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, both of those on CBS Sports Network. ESPN2 has the DFB Pokal between Bayern Munich and Bayer Leverkusen at 2:45. Premier League midweek activity. This is where we start to have festive fixtures and compression of schedules, and where teams at the bottom of the table traditionally come up and bite clubs above them in the standings. Ipswich and Crystal Palace is at 2:30. Leicester and West Ham is at 3:15. You can probably catch all of those on Peacock in their entirety and pick your match. ESPN Deportes, Mallorca, Barcelona is at 1, and the Pokal's at 2:45. Universo simulcasting the women's friendly. ESPN Plus simulcasting Mallorca, Barcelona at 1. The Pokal, Arminia Bielefeld and Freiburg, Jan Regensburg and Stuttgart both at noon. Werder Bremen and Darmstadt, Bayern Munich, Bayer Leverkusen at 2:45. The Belgian Cup on ESPN Plus. Patro Eisden and Club Brugge at 2:45. Fox Soccer Plus, the Caribbean Club Championship, Cibao and Cavaliers at 7. Golasso Network has Wrexham and Barnsley at 2:45 in League One. Max simulcasting Netherlands in the U.S. At 2:45. NBCSports.com. Leicester City, West Ham at 3:15. Paramount Plus, busy as always. AFC Champions League Elite, they have one more match today. They've already played 5. Al Hilal and Al Harafa is at 1. Coppa Italia, 12:30. Bologna Monza. Milan and Sassuolo is at 3. League One, Exeter Wickham at 2:45. Wrexham Barnsley at 2:45. Huddersfield Wigan at 3. And then once again, Euro 2025 qualifying, Belgium Ukraine at 2:15. England Switzerland at 2:45. Peacock, once again, as we mentioned, Ipswich and Crystal Palace at 2:30. Netherlands and the USA on the simulcast at 2:45. So that is your rundown. Let me get into juice boxes for the matchups in the Prem and let you know what's going on. Thanks to all of you guys for hanging out with us as you always do and always have. And we'll break down everything once the computer decides it wants to behave, and we can let you know what's going on. So once again, Premier League, once again, it's going to be a busy midweek because you have 2 today, you have 6 tomorrow, and then you have 2 on Thursday before Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So it's a double match week. Check your teams and check your fantasy rosters appropriately. Ipswich, an underdog at home to Crystal Palace at a +2.25. Crystal Palace a +124. Leicester at home. We'll see how much longer BC.game is on the front of their jerseys at a +187 at the King Power. West Ham in a must-win, probably for Julian Lopetegui, is a +141. Your draw is a +252. So that is your rundown of everything that has gone on today. Once again, thanks to Jay Entlich and our friends at Columbus State. 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon, home match. University of West Florida, the round of 8 in the Division II NCAA playoffs. You can catch this interview in audio form over on the app and on all the podcatchers. Probably you'll see bits and pieces of it pop up on our social media. Same for Kaylor Hodges and his breakdown of everything Super League, USL Championship, USL League One, and everything at the USL show at Kaylor Hodges on social. So once again, tomorrow, Tyler Pilgrim, 9:15. Hopefully Dylan Butler at 10. Chasing other colleges to fill up the show on Wednesday. Thursday, Power Hour. You know that's hour number 2. Nino and Nico, 10 and 10:30. And then on Wednesday, we get you ready for the weekend. Try and have as many things to get you prepped for MLS Cup as possible. And we'll let you know what's going on there as well. So for everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. Thanks for dropping by as you always do. Play it safe, everybody. Mucha plata, y'all. And we'll be back at it again in a little less than 22. So that's the way it always runs here. Back at it for yet another round of SDH. Play it safe, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Hey, let's be careful out there.